Hi, this is Ilma Art Studios photograph for today. Those are a group of elks swimming right there in the African Lion Safari where I visited maybe 6 years ago. Hi, check my website for more artworks and photographs at ilmaart.com. Today, I'd like to share with you my poem devotional extracted from Jeremiah 5:22. It says, I, the Lord, define the ocean's sandy shoreline as an everlasting boundary that the waters cannot cross. The waves may toss and roar, but they can never pass the boundaries I set. Here's my poem. God's boundaries. Do you know where you start and end? Do you clearly see the boundaries that God made? God created the shoreline so waters don't cross. The waves can't go over it even when they toss. God fashioned physical boundaries so there will be harmony. He set spiritual borders so we can all have unity. If we respect these boundaries, we will have victory. When we do not violate them, we will be happy and free. Here's my essay. A boundary is defined as a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line. It is easy to understand a boundary that divides the line of two properties if you actually see a fence erected on it. But when it comes to emotional and spiritual boundaries, it is more challenging because you don't have a tangible object to look at. I grew up without knowing boundaries. It was confusing to watch my family do things differently than other families. It was even harder having your boundaries violated without even knowing they were desecrated. When you are a child, you barely understand things. The Bible tells us that God created boundaries between his various creation. He also set an example for us to respect boundaries. Prayer. Show me clearly my spiritual boundaries, Lord. Reflection. What is the importance of boundaries in relationship? I think it's very, very essential for us to set boundaries in a relationship, especially if we want a healthy relationship if we want to have a healthy relationship, it is essential for us to have boundaries. A case in point is my life, because since I had so much childhood trauma, I didn't even know boundaries, because there was no boundaries, because everything was violated, and it was very confusing, because if you grow up that way and you're supposed to learn all kinds of limit as you're growing up, then you you don't know the difference between a life with boundary and a life without boundary. But it took over what 5 decades before I finally realized that I needed boundaries. And I'm studying a Bible study right now with a friend, with another sister in Christ, that talks about boundaries. This is a book from written by Henry Cloud and John Townsend. And the title of the book, it says Boundaries, and then it says how to say no and how to say yes. So in other words, as just a case in point, an example is like when you when you have a child, and the child is going through a dangerous thing, you have to say no to the child, because the child doesn't know whether that thing is good or bad for him. The same thing with relationships. If we do not clearly define what will offend us, or what will be against our principles to the person that we have a relationship with, then that person wouldn't know that, and he could always cross, or he or she could always cross the line without even knowing that he is. And then what happens when you don't tell them, and then you expect them to know, and you haven't told them yet, and then you start to build resentment, because when they don't do as you expect them to do, then it can build up to anger, and it could build up to a broken relationship. So that's why it's really important to learn how to say no. For example, when a friend just pops by and violating your privacy or your time to do something that time, and then they just come by and dump everything, all their issues and problems to you, that is a big boundary violation. So if you're not careful about what's happening, usually a clear mark that you are violated the boundaries is like you start getting confused, and then you start, sometimes you think, "Oh, was it me? Am I asking too much?" Or but when everything's okay, when nothing is violated, you're fine. But when something is violated, deep within you, you know that, you feel that, and then sometimes when you don't know these boundaries, and then you just go on, and then your relationship get tarnished. That's why it's really important for us, as physical boundaries is important for us, to put a no trespassing sign in front of our property. And so is the same as with emotional and spiritual boundaries. Otherwise, people can just walk all over us. Thanks for watching, and I hope you check my website at ilmaarts.com for more artworks and photographs. Have a blessed day.